Gaddafi himself has told reporters that the people of his country love him. Dan Nolan has this report.
Panic sets in on a highway near the eastern Libyan town of AlJazeera. Anti-government fighters try to divert traffic after what they say was an aerial attack from Muammar Gaddafi's forces.
Jets are bombing us. In every raid they dropped 4 bombs. They attacked AlJazeera from 4 different locations.
There's another explosion in the military, Zweitina military. You can see the smoke from there.
These pictures were filmed by Associated Press on Monday. Witnesses said the target was an ammunition dump taken over by opposition forces. As they wait with rocket-propelled grenades for a follow-up attack, a former Air Force pilot who's joined the rebel ranks made this plea to control Colonel Gaddafi.
Whether it is the European Union or the Arabs or America or even Russia, we ask them to just shut down this man's airspace. We are capable of taking him out by ourselves, but we are only requesting the international community to enforce a no-fly zone.
But the man he wants to take out is showing no signs of leaving, spending Monday telling international media that he has Libya's full support.
Me, all my people with me, they love me all.
But if they do love you...
They will die to protect me, my people.
If you say they do love you, then why are they capturing Benghazi and they say they're against you there? Why are they in Zawiya?
It is a guide, not my people.
In an interview that will do little to convince the international community that he's of a sound state of mind, Colonel Gaddafi also laughed off mounting pressure to leave the country.
Who would leave his homeland? Why do I leave my homeland? Why do I leave Libya?
That means the bloodshed and fierce firefights aren't likely to stop anytime soon. This amateur video was uploaded on social media on Monday and is said to show fresh battles at Misrata Airport, a sprawling airbase that each side now partly controls. AlJazeera cannot independently verify it or another uploaded video said to show the aftermath of battles at the same airport on Sunday. Misrata is 200 kilometres to the east of Tripoli, its strategic value possibly best explained by the huge amount of weapons and ammunition now in the hands of those determined to bring Gaddafi down. Dan Nolan, AlJazeera.
Well, in the Libyan city of Misrata, around 200 kilometers east of the capital Tripoli, there are reports of more fighting as pro-Gaddafi forces battle with those opposed to the regime. And Abdullah is a witness to the latest fighting. He spoke to AlJazeera earlier and described what he saw.
There's now artillery shells firing on the suburbs of Misrata and on the Air Force College southwest of Misrata. There are also helicopters trying to bomb the local broadcaster. They're also using heavy weapons against the protesters. Also last night, helicopters dropped leaflets with threats from the regime. The plane fell in the sea and we arrested 5 of its crew. We have weapons we're trying to use to defend ourselves, but it's normal weapons that cannot compare to the planes or tanks or armoured vehicles or the heavy weapons they use to bomb us. We are defending righteousness and freedom. We want him to leave.
Forces opposed to Muammar Gaddafi are trying to put together a credible military force. They're being led by Libya's former interior minister and head of the country's special forces. Here's Jackie Rowland.
The ledger is thick and it's filling up with names. This recruitment office has been open only a matter of days and already hundreds of men have signed on. The army for which they're enrolling doesn't exist yet, but that isn't deterring the volunteers. These young soldiers joined the uprising against Muammar Gaddafi on the first day. Now they've enlisted in the rebel force and they say they're ready to march on Tripoli.
We don't want money or cars or anything. They want to protect the country and its people.
A lot of young people are sacrificing themselves. They want to go to the West. We have old men and women who will go to the West to liberate it.
So there's no shortage of volunteers, no shortage of patriotism and revolutionary zeal. But as to exactly when, how, and even if they intend to advance on the capital, that's another question.
The anti-Gaddafi forces say their first task is to defend the east of the country, what they call Free Libya. Taking the fight to the capital would be the next step.
We have a force that can protect Benghazi. The force may use heavy trucks to transport tanks to go to Tripoli and pass through Sirte on the way because it still supports the regime. The power we have is enough. The ammunition, supplies and fuel are also enough. We don't have a problem.
But a tour of this airfield paints a less optimistic picture of what the rebels have at their disposal. Rusting Soviet-era fighter planes that haven't left the tarmac in years. All part of Gaddafi's strategy to prevent the army from ever threatening his rule.
The army was dismantled years ago. The regime is concentrating only on security units.
The victory they're celebrating is incomplete as long as Muammar Gaddafi remains in control of cities in the west. And most Libyans fear he will not be defeated without more bloodshed. Jackie Rowland, Al Jazeera in eastern Libya.
Well, as the fighting goes on inside Libya, governments are continuing to evacuate their people from the country. There were tears of relief from this Pakistani man as he arrived home at Lahore airport. He was among the 170 evacuated on a specially chartered flight from the country. In New Delhi, another 266 Indians have arrived home on a special Air India flight. Around 18,000 Indians worked in Libya. Nigerians, meanwhile, evacuated from Libya, are accusing the Gaddafi regime of atrocities against them. Nearly 1,000 have been flown home in the past 2 days, while another 1,000 are awaiting rescue.
I have so many friends in Libya. They told me that they cannot speak because Gaddafi has killed their cousins and uncles. He destroyed them all.
I thank God because I'm free today. And I'm not going back to any Arab world. I will never travel to any Arab world again.
And 150 more migrant workers arrived home in the Kenyan capital on Monday. Kenya says the flight was delayed by 3 days because Egypt refused to give clearance, citing safety concerns. Well, condemnation from outside Libya is mounting. Foreign ministers are in Geneva for a UN Human Rights Council meeting. They've agreed unanimously on action against Gaddafi.
The international community is speaking with one voice, and our message is unmistakable. These violations of universal rights are unacceptable and will not be tolerated.
We're trying to respond in real time to the crisis and, of course, to avoid the civil war that we fear, and making contingency plans to respond to the potential flow of refugees to neighbouring and to European countries.
Well, Washington is putting financial as well as military pressure on Libya. The U.S. has frozen $30 billion in Libyan government assets, and it's moving its naval and air forces closer to Libya to help enforce any future no-fly zone. John Terrett reports.
After 2 weeks of beating around the bush, the White House came out punching over Libya on Monday. Spokesman Jay Carney says Gaddafi's lost all legitimacy in the eyes of his people and the world and must go.
He is no longer in a position to credibly